The time is 4:21. We are back on the record.
Okay. And I'm sorry, Ms. Stoller, can you read back the last couple of sentences?
1 second, please.
Okay.
Yeah, we're ready whenever you guys are.
Oh,
Okay, the last couple sentences were, and as I said a few sentences earlier, there are a lot of people in this community that are totally afraid of him because of what he's done to other people.
And he has a clarification on an earlier point. I can either ask about it or he can make the clarification, whatever you prefer.
I'll make the clarification. I had said that we were not aware of settlement offers. Now, I don't know how many settlement offers came in, Val. There is one settlement offer that came in October 13th. No, that can't be right. Oh, that's today's date. It came in October 21st last year. Now, this office did make us aware of that settlement offer. When I was saying I wasn't aware of other settlement offers, I wasn't aware of the one that you said came in at the very beginning of this suit that maybe John D'Souza was offered, or if anything else came in. So I just wanted to clear that up.
okay, thank you. No, I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. And then just to your last point, just one more question. I mean, I'm just trying to get, the facts as it comes down. I hear a lot of, Mr. Goode's been stalking people and he does terrible things, but I have not heard any actual concrete sort of evidence. And it sounds to me that it's just a lot of hubbub that's going around. Is that correct? Or am I?
No, I don't think so. When somebody like Rita Church goes into the details that she went into, like I said, very tearfully, no, those are not rumors. When the Bill Ryans and other people talk about stalked and made to look like somebody's walking around the house with the cigarette butts. As a matter of fact, Corey even talked about it in his deposition. I think he blamed it on Roger, but nevertheless, it was done to Bill Ryan. There are, and I don't have my notes, Val, in front of me, so I don't want to misspeak, but were lots of incidents. And as I said, this one gentleman who did over an hour of this expose, he goes into great detail on various things that have been done.
And it hurts me to say this, but it is true. Corey Goode is riddled in witchcraft. Corey Goode operates through witchcraft. He's operating as a warlock. His constant MO is to intimidate and manipulate and dominate, and that is witchcraft. And this is not just my analysis. Any trained spiritual practitioner of the light would attest that Corey's methods are taught by the dark side as a tool of sorcery and witchcraft for those wishing to control and manipulate and impose their will on the will of others. Corey is a spiritual fraud. And even though he recites it because he knows it will pull you in, his behavior is the antithesis of the law of one. Since his arrival, he has brought a nasty, combative, evil energy into this community. Corey has done things to companies and conferences and individuals in this community that a normal person's thinking could not even conjure up. Corey's mind is not normal. His spirit is not normal.
Give us an example of that. Give us an example of that, Leon. And I'm so sorry to cut in here, but
Okay,
we got some really good and some really big claims here, which I think is a very powerful thing. I think there's some other details though that you can add to this, because a lot of people are going to watch this video, as you know, and they're going to be like, wow, man, this guy's got some, we got some big claims and we've got some big energy here. What else can you give us? How does Corey attack his people? In what ways does he use this dark energy? Go ahead.
I'm gonna dive deep for you.
Thank you.
Throughout this whole course. But first of all, let's say this. In Roger's letter, he disclosed that Corey speaks about opping individuals. Getting into their minds, dreams, or even causing negative things to happen to individuals that cross him. And
Hold on, Leon. Pause right there. I need you to read that and for everyone watching, you guys, this is really important information for people in this community that are giving money to Corey Goode, that are buying into the Light Warrior Legal Fund, that are thinking, he's, about to take everybody down into the inner earth and the Anshar bus. I need you to read that again, Leon. Go ahead.
Okay, say the word, you know it.
Opping. What is opping, Corey?
Okay. You want me to read it again?
Yeah, I want you to read the whole thing again. We're here live on camera. Go for
He
it.
disclosed that Corey speaks about opping individuals, getting into their minds, their dreams, or even causing negative things to happen to the individuals that cross him. This explains why so many have a genuine fear of this Corey Goode. Corey claims that these were tactics taught to him in the secret space program. Corey deploys psychological warfare techniques to gain control over individuals through harassment and my previous mention of his other maneuvers to dominate. Corey has also utilized the whispers of his prowess in these areas to bully and psychologically strong-arm his will through this community of love. Now, Corey and others might call it opping. I call it by its ancient name, witchcraft. It's sorcery, it's dark magic, and whoever taught it to Corey certainly was not working with the light. And any spiritual teacher will back me up. Corey is continuously and purposely dominating this community through fear and harassment. Corey has knowingly violated major spiritual laws and principles. And it is time for him to go. It is time for him to be shut down. So how will you shut him down? And the hearts of the people turned against him. You need to shun him. You need to have nothing to do with him, much less support him. So
Mr. Kennedy, do you ever know, have you ever known Mr. Goode to practice witchcraft?
His MO, Val, is witchcraft. Now, let's get into my ministry for a moment. My ministry is also a deliverance ministry. And churches fly me in to do deliverance on people that are demonically oppressed or demonically possessed. There is a difference. A lot of people don't want to talk about deliverance. It's a scary word to people. So I call it get set free, where you get negative energy off of you or negative forces off of you. And it's a matter of using the light of the Holy Spirit and the power of the Holy Spirit, and even the power of the name of Jesus. For Jesus Christ was manifest to destroy the works of the evil one. And he went about doing good, healing and delivering all those oppressed by the evil. So when you try to impose your will on people, when you try to manipulate people, when you try to dominate people, that's witchcraft. Doesn't matter what you want to call it in this modern age, it's witchcraft. When you are getting into the minds of people through certain prayers and so on and so forth to dominate them and control them, that is witchcraft. And I can't say it any nicer. It is also the antithesis of love and forgiveness. It's the antithesis of do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It's the antithesis of the law of one that David Wilcock talks about, or that Corey sometimes talks about. I am spiritually trained in deliverance. I can recognize there's a certain thing called discerning of spirits. And when one is trained, they can discern this type of thing. It's very obvious with his MO. And I wish that we had had these conversations at the beginning of the day, because we were going into a nicer place here. Because these are harsh statements. And they were difficult statements for me to make, Val, because as I said before, loves Corey like a son. But even with a son, sometimes you have to call it like it is and see if it can be corrected and see if a person can grow out of certain things. But the way that he has treated certain people certainly is not with love and respect and dignity. I'm sorry. Let me use a case in point here as far as vindictiveness. This whole money grab that took place in March of 2020, it really had nothing to do with money, because Corey had money. It had to do with punishing Roger Richards and trying to push him off the cliff, because Roger desperately needed money. The man's father had just died a month before. His brother, they thought was dead the same month, and now you're going to take the man's money. That's not showing love. That's not showing compassion. Taking money from your team in the middle of COVID, Val. You know, if there's an audit to be done, take 10% and set it aside. Take 15% and set it aside. Don't take the whole team's money when there's no work and these families are suffering. Where's the moral ethics here? Where's the compassion? And you're the team leader. It wasn't right. And these are the things that I'm pointing out. I'll make another point. You said yesterday to Adrian, aren't you sorry, Adrian, that these statements came out about Corey and it was Christmas time? And as I was watching that and hearing that question, I said, no, I'm not sorry that it came out that it was Christmas time. I'm sorry that this team and their families still were waiting on money over a year later, and it was Christmas time. That's what I was sad about. And it was an atrocity. Shouldn't have happened. And he shouldn't have done it. That's what I mean by having a bigger heart and being a bigger person.
So to that point, the first SBA account that all the monies that were going into during 2019 was what that account was supposed to be a neutral account, correct?
Yes.
But nobody else had access to it except for you, Maureen, correct?
Well, that's the way it was set up. It was set up for me to be the neutral steward because David didn't trust that he would get his money from Corey, and he didn't trust that he'd get it on time. And David didn't have a great trust for Roger either. So that's why it was set up, and it was voted on, Val. It was okayed by everybody. And even you said that first year, everything went fine. There were no complaints. I even got, like I said earlier, several hours ago, even got a memo from Corey in December, which is the end of the year, thanking me for being a team player, taking care of the team, and taking care of the money. So everything was done in order. All the money was paid out. There's no money sitting in SBA Entertainment LLC. All the money was paid out. The bookkeeping shows that it was by a CPA. That was for Above Majestic. And as I said to you several hours ago, when it comes to Cosmic Secret money, there were only 2 payments, one in December, one in March, and then after that, that's when Corey took over in March of 2020. So everything is paid for, everything is accounted for. Every single profit participant, there's a monthly statement showing that they got their money, showing what their percentage was, and showing exactly how much they got that particular month. And it always totaled out. In other words, X amount of dollars came in from Orchard. Here's the amount. You get this much, here's your 15%, or here's your 16.5%, whatever. And it always totaled out to what it was supposed to be.
And was that communicated to all of the members of the team?
Absolutely. Pardon me, you faded out.
Oh, sorry. How often did the team get updates on that? On, you know, what
Well, they got their updates every single month. In other words, when the money came in, they got a notice showing how much money came in, and here's your payment. And they got a total at the end of the year showing how much they had gotten that year, so for their tax purposes. Not $1 was misspent. And by the way, I should mention this because Maureen worked side by side with me for free. She really was getting nothing. By year 2, when it came to the back-end participation, she got 5% of Cosmic Secret. But the first year she worked every day with me for free. Other people, they had assistants and so on and so forth that got money. Maureen was not on any payroll. But Maureen is not a novice. When she was working with the Will Prappas Company, some of their clients that they handled were big names like Jimmy Stewart, Mel Torme, Blake Edwards, Julie Andrews, Arthur Park of Citrian Park Citron, Bob Barker, the talk show host, it's worth a lot of money, and many other notable Hollywood clients. These are people that she took care of their accounts when she was at the Prappas Company, in addition to earlier running her father's medical office, because her father was a doctor. So, you know, these were not amateurs dealing with these funds here.
Right.
And for free, by the way.
So-
And me only getting 5%.
Okay. And so Maureen was never paid at all?
She was never paid the first year, and like I said, the second year, she got 5% of Cosmic Secret. And those were only 2 months, December and March. We did it out of love, Val, and we did it out of potential. As I said to you before, to me, the potential was, let's get the series going, let's get the movie going, and everybody will be happy, and everybody would then have a big payday. I'm talking about millions of dollars or tens of millions of dollars if that got going. When you can have a franchise and have it lucrative, then it takes care of itself. It brings on a life of its own. That's what Leon was looking at.
Right. Understood.
Certainly not the 5%. It was speculative.
Okay. almost done with this one.
And I'm going to go into detail on how he treated certain individuals.
Please do.
Initially, since the announcement of his lawsuit, scores of other individuals have brought me many, many documents and a history of Corey's dark deeds and deceptions perpetuated upon others. And as the information mounted, I became more and more horrified by these atrocities that Corey had perpetuated upon so many others.
When you reference many, many documents of misdeeds, have those documents been produced to us?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that, please?
Sure.
I was making a note on.
Sure. So you mentioned that many, many documents of misdeeds had been sent to you. Have those been produced and sent over to us?
I'll have to check on that. If you can give us a day or two to check on that.
Okay, certainly.
And also, I want to say this. As I said, there are other things that I could do, and quite frankly, was getting ready to do.
I don't pick sides.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I always,
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
There are other things that I could do, and other things that, quite frankly, I was getting ready to do to bring this whole thing to a head. I know that Corey has compromised people. I know that he holds things over people. There's a lot of things that I know that I have not put out, and I've been just sitting back on. I'll just leave it at that.
tried to be the voice of reason. I always tried to be the compass of which way to go and what was right for the highest good of all. I made to Corey several recommendations, pleading with him. Corey, there does not have to always be a war. You don't always have to be in combat, much less lawsuits. I made suggestions toward what would be a fair business divorce for all the parties involved. Once again, like I said, every time I've given him a choice, he picked the dark. To the contrary, I found Corey not to be fair, but to be vindictive and arrogantly unfair in his demands with Adrian and Roger. Furthermore, Corey and his team of attorneys never came to the table with a good faith offer to Roger regarding a resolution of their business projects.
And we've already talked about that. Yeah, and we now know that that's, you know, that was a miscommunication, correct?
Well, actually, Val, on the timeline, I think this was before. Let me just see here.
No, you're correct. Yeah, in retrospect, right.
Okay.
Say what you want to say, though. Clear it up.
No, I did.
Okay.
This statement was done the Christmas before this settlement came out, timeline-wise.
And when D'Souza had not sent on the other one. Okay. And I think you actually preemptively answered my question I'm about to ask here, but I'll just.
And financial ruin. A perfect example of this, you wanted examples, Matthew, of his behavior. A perfect example of this is the fact that within a 30-day period, Roger Richards experienced a horrific double tragedy. The discovery of the death of his brother, then followed by the death of his father.
And I remember discussing this, and that was really sad, but it turned out that Mr. Richards' brother is not deceased, correct?
Yeah, we found this out just this year, that all of a sudden after, what, 2 years, the brother's not dead and he shows up. which was, I guess, a miracle.
Okay, we've got one more to listen.
But here's my point to that, Val. Roger was like Corey's dog. He did anything for Corey. He was down in the trenches for Corey. I think did some of the wrong things even that Corey wanted done, from what I'm hearing certain things. But my point is that Roger was completely dedicated to Corey until they had this falling out, unfortunately, over percentages. So sometimes, even out of a history that you've had with a person, you have some compassion, you have some sympathy. So if the man just went through what we thought was at that time, a double tragedy, let him have some money. You know what happened? I ended up just lending Roger some money in this situation, which I've never gotten back. But that's where I'm talking about as far as compassion for an individual. That's where I'm talking about the law of one. Or if you are a person that truly walks in the light, you have compassion, you have some grace. And these little mini lessons, now maybe I had no right to do it, but these little mini lessons were some of the things that I was trying to impart into Corey so that the good Corey could dominate the dark Corey. And Val, if I can just explain, maybe Leon for a moment. You're talking to a person who my entire life, from the time I was 13, all I wanted to do was be a movie star, a writer, producer of films, and come to Hollywood. And back in the 60s, there were very few opportunities for a Black. There were no Blacks in commercials or TV, very few in movies, maybe Sidney Poitier. And if they had a Black, they wanted everybody to know it was a Black, so they went for dark skin. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm light skinned, how am I gonna break in? So my plan was, this is a kid planning, I'll be a disc jockey. Back then, Val, they had personality disc jockeys. So if you were a big personality in your city, you sort of ruled that city. I'll be a big time personality, then from there I'll get my own TV show, then from there I'll do movies. So I followed that plan from the time I was 15. And you asked me about my former wife. When I was already a disc jockey. I was already in all these major markets as a disc jockey. I already had the TV show that I told you about. I already had one of the first Black syndicated shows in the country. Then when I went back to Cleveland to do another television show, that's when I met Jane. Jane was Miss Ohio, first Black girl to be Miss Ohio in the Miss Universe pageant. So we got married. Now, I had a TV show and a radio show in Cleveland, big fish in a small pond. I'm saying, let's go to Hollywood. I can make both of us into stars. You talk about a young person maybe having too big of an ambition. I gave up radio, I gave up TV, I went to Hollywood, not knowing anybody, not having any job waiting, but just blind faith, believing that in hard work and positive prayer, I could pull it off. Well, it took a couple of years, but I did pull it off. 2 Black kids, because we were in our 20s, from Cleveland, Ohio, both coming to Hollywood, both becoming household names. That's a miracle. I give all credit to God. But here's my point. I'm at the top of my career of doing what I wanted to do. That's all I ever wanted was the movies. And I walked away from it, Val, to go into ministry, to follow God's leading. So that is what makes Leon tick, is trying to please God. It hurt me to walk away from Hollywood. It's hard to build all this up and become a star. It's very, very hard. Most of the time it's unachievable for millions of people. And then you walk away and you give it all up to go into ministry, as I said, I'm not making any money in ministry. I'm sometimes in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, a city I've never even heard of because a church wanted me to come. The church has no money. I'm not looking for money, but I'm staying in a Motel 6 to minister. Me, Leon Isaac Kennedy, who was at the Academy Awards and I'm at a Motel 6. But it was all for ministry. It was all for helping people. So my point is that my moral compass is so important. And it would have been easier if it weren't for my moral compass to just agree with Corey, like Liz Laurie did. Not to stand up for Adrienne and say, hey, that's not right. She deserves something, Corey, and Roger deserves something too, or whoever else I stood up for. I wasn't going against Corey. It wasn't me for them and not Corey. I was just trying to do what was right and trying to get him to see what was right, because I believe that the new Corey could be even bigger and better than what he already was, if this is making sense to you. But the last part of this is when it's all said and done, and Maureen doesn't want, like it when I say 74, average black man dies at 76. She's even saying, oh God, now over here. But my point is that I'm in a chapter where being accountable to God and bringing good karma is more important than anything else. And I'm held accountable to God if I don't at least say to a person, I don't think that's right. That's all I'm saying here.
Understood. And didn't Corey ever tell you that there were certain things that he outlined that were supposed to be part of certain projects like Above Majestic that people just went over his head and cut out the directives that he said and went behind his back and did whatever they wanted anyways?
Yes, he has said that, and that's one of the things that he said about Cosmic Secret. As a matter of fact, in his deposition, I think he said that I went over his head and had Roger do it instead of him doing it with Brandon. But I explained today that we only had that short window of opportunity to do Cosmic Secret. It had to be done within that short time to take the money or wait till the next year. The company had no money. So it was very important to get the $200,000 to keep the team going rather than go bankrupt. Keep the team going and we can play another day, have a hit film, and we can get another project. And I explained to you earlier about it was always in my mind that once Cosmic Secret was done, which was really a run and grab for the money, then we could take our time and have Corey do another project where it could take the proper amount of time instead of a rush job with Brandon. I explained to you that was my MO for that.
Understood.
And I apologize to Corey if he thinks that I went behind his back just to take that project. I didn't. As a matter of fact, it was explained. He may not remember now, but it was explained why it happened that way. But once again, because of this rivalry that the two of them had, sometimes people only see what they want to see. But I had no intention of going behind Corey's back and just giving it to Roger. There was a reason for that. And also, as I said, the next project would have been what Corey wanted with Brandon.
Understood.
Rather than go back.
Right, understood. But didn't that also happen with the graphic novel though? He worked really hard to get that done and finally got it done. But that was the one thing that he really wanted to have done, and everybody else was doing everything else. They wouldn't just get this one project done.
Well, the only way I can answer that is to say that I can't answer that because, as I pointed out, I had nothing to do with the graphic novel. Now, I do remember Corey saying, I want Roger to finish the graphic novel. Roger has promised that he would finish the graphic novel, but nevertheless, it didn't happen. But I go on the record again to say I was not involved in the graphic novel or the production of it.
Okay, so while we're on this really quick, I'm gonna go through a list of names to see if you recognize these names. Sean Stone,
Yes, I know Sean.
he's a director producer, correct?
Yes.
Okay, Kerr Smith,
Who?
Kerr Smith, Kerr Smith.
Don't think so.
Okay, Jane Atkinson Gill
No,
or Michelle Gill,
no,
Luis Robledo,
doesn't ring a bell.
David Kalbitzer.
No,
He didn't work with you guys on anything?
you broke up.
Oh, he didn't work with you on anything, David Kalbitzer?
Who is it? Who?
David Kalbitzer, I don't know if I'm saying that right, or Kalbitzer.
I don't remember that name, Val. What do you think I worked on him with?
I thought maybe he had done some work on either Above Majestic or Cosmic Secret.
Okay, so Above Majestic, whoever worked on that other than Jordan Sather, I don't know who worked on that. It was done complete, and as I said, contract already signed before Leon got involved with Roger and Corey. So I don't know any of the names that worked on Above Majestic.
Okay,
And then if you're saying that he worked on something else, and I say I don't recognize the name, I'm certainly not trying to mislead you. Sometimes there are people that come on that are a grip or a lighting person, maybe even a sound person, but I'm not familiar with them because I'm just familiar with the top people that, you know, were involved.
understood. Okay. Does David D. Williams sound familiar at all?
No.
Michael Wouters?
Michael who?
Wouters?
No,
W-O-
I don't think so.
Okay, and James
No.
B. Hart?
You broke up.
James B. Hart?
Is that Jim Hart, the writer?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm very familiar with him because he's the one that I brought to Corey that wrote Contact. He's the one that I said would have been the icing on the cake to get the deal done with Netflix.
Right. Okay. Yep, we did talk about him earlier. That's right. And Steve Glotzer?
Don't recognize that name, I don't think.
Okay. And you've heard of Jenny McCarthy, right?
I have.
So there's
I knew Jenny a long time ago from the Playboy Mansion days.
okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, just so I don't, would it surprise you if I said all those people approached Corey for because of the graphic novel and the franchise Bible?
When you say approached him to get it done, or what do you mean?
To work with them on it. I mean, a lot of people have seen it. I think you saw him, he brought it to his deposition, and it was a lot of work. It took a while, but you know, they worked really hard on it, finally got it done. And it was one of the things that he really wanted to do. So
No, it wouldn't. To answer your question, no, it wouldn't surprise me because it had the potential of being a great project. So I'm not surprised that people would be interested at all, and I'm happy for that.
okay, I think we're done with this video. We can go on to
All within the 30-day.
Corey, his former business partner, and this so-called
I don't know where that came from. Mr. Geis, where are we at on time?
We are at 6 hours, 25 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Geis, are you pulling up the next one?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Sorry, I don't mean to be past.
No, you're good. It'll be up in just one moment. All right.
Okay. Go through these pretty fast. All right, we will go past the beginning. Maybe.
Have you requested control yet?
Oh, no, sorry. I'm like, why isn't this not working? Okay. There you go.
There you go.
Okay. Okay.
And wants to completely destroy you. It's one thing to just say, kiss my behind, you're not getting anything. But no, he has to then completely try to destroy that person. It's a very dark, nasty energy, and it is certainly not the law of one or any of the other things that he tries to expound upon.
That's the definition of
And I think we discussed that earlier, just where those allegations were coming from. I think you said there was a few people that were saying them.
Yes.
Okay.
Back later, but I'm talking about the difference here. I'm talking about when you have a heart for people,
And I think you actually touched on this earlier, that you had lent some money to him. This was like a few years ago.
they said they absolutely would not want to give Corey any other money.
Yes, we
So
talked
then
about
I
that.
said, okay, we've got Above Majestic, it's coming. Can you make a business loan? You know the money's going to be coming. They said, I'll tell you what, I like you, Leon. If you sign for the money, I'll make the business loan. So I did. I signed for the loan, $50,000 for Corey. I also made arrangements for another $35,000 to come to Corey so that his kids could go to a very special private school. At other times when the company needed some money until other monies came, I loaned the company over $20,000 on several occasions. I got the money back later, but I'm talking about the difference here. I'm talking about when you have a heart for people, you go out of your way to try and find how to make something work.
And I think we touched on both of those already.
Yes,
you
we have.
did, okay. Let's see.
But I do want to say this, Val.
Yes.
I did it out of love. You know, a person can say, I love Corey, but actions speak so much louder than words. So when you go to bat for someone, when you go out of your way for someone and their family, to me, that action backs up what your statement is. I love you, and therefore, I'm trying to do this for you, even to negotiate for the money for the kids for their special schooling. And I can't tell you about how much it hurts when you've tried to sacrifice for a person out of love, or like Marine working for free out of love, and then the person just turns on you. It'd be one thing to just say, I don't want to work with you anymore. But to come out with all these accusations and lies, embezzlement, and didn't get them attorneys, and on and on and on, it hurts you to the core of your heart. It makes you almost give up on people. It makes you almost the next time not want to do something nice for somebody because you're just going to get kicked in the behind.
Understood. And I mean, weren't there some instances that Corey was trying to scramble to get money for some of the people that work for you guys, like Steve Cephalo, for example? I think you brought him up earlier. There were instances that he really needed money, and he was scrambling to get him money. You know, I know he may not have been able to pay it back your way, but you know, he did he not show some instances of love? I mean, while you guys were together?
Okay, and I need you to speak into the mic a little bit. You're asking, did Corey show some instances of love?
Correct.
Is that what
Yes.
you're asking?
Yes.
Yeah, he did. And that's why this is so tragic. I told you earlier today, when I stood up to Danny Green at Orchard and got us that other $100,000, Corey is the one that said on the conference call, this wouldn't have happened if it weren't for Leon. So that's showing love and appreciation. I told you at the end of the year in December, Corey sent me a nice note saying, thank you, Leon, for holding the team together. Thank you for, you know, doing the payments and so on and so forth. I appreciate you. Many times he said that he appreciated me. We had a good time together when he came out here and visited. I took him around town. There was an event for Smokey Robinson getting an award. I took him to Smokey's, the event, had him sit right next to Smokey and so on and so forth. Corey and I had a good time together. I loved the man. He was like, I keep saying this, he was like a son. So I said this earlier, Val, to me, Adrian and I are collateral damage from the big divorce and the big feud going on between Roger and Corey, with so much unfinished, unsettled business that they had done in the past. And at one point, I was willing to even try to help barter that. I even volunteered to try and help barter the things with Adrian, and asked Liz Laurie to sit in on that, by the way. So it's very hurtful that someone that you loved, someone that you saw all this great potential in, and then the ministry part of me trying to bring out the higher self, that it turned out this way. It's very hurtful.
Teaching that they didn't even create. And, you know, we find out they're making $1 million off this. And I realize this is a long-winded question, Leon, but why does Corey Goode need all that money?
Corey spends money like a rock star. I used to ask the same question. Corey, where's all the money going? You would get $10,000 from a payment and then a month later be broke. Where's all the money
Where's the
going?
money? Ladies and
So doesn't, I mean, he paid people like Steve Cephalo and Roger Richards and the people that were working on all these projects, correct?
Well, I don't know if he did or not. According to Adrian and Roger, once again, this was before my time, but they didn't get paid. It was all going to be paid on the back end. Now, I can answer this specifically. Brandon Graham and Dave Everhart worked for Corey for a good year and a half now, doing all types of great sizzle reels. And earlier, I told you when I had that whole merchandising pitch put together. Well, it was Brandon and Dave and Roger that did that. The putting together these wonderful sizzle reels that made someone like Netflix be interested. This was Brandon and Dave and Roger doing these things, and there was no payment. The payment was going to come on the back end. He wasn't paying people, is my point. But then the payment was going to come on the back end, and then the darn back end was taken from these people.
So Roger never,
So-
he was, oh, sorry, go ahead.
So with Brandon and Dave, a year and a half worth of hard, brilliant work, I must say. And they've gotten, nothing.
So Roger never told you that he was getting paid $6,000 a month?
No, once again, this was before my time. When I got involved, the payments to people came out of Above Majestic. And then when you're talking about me scrambling for money to keep Corey afloat, one of my letters said to him where he was saying, well, and see, his tune changed once the lawsuit hit. Before that, there was some love. After that, it was just a lot of lies. But when it came to the bookkeeping was sloppy, and I was saying to him, no, the bookkeeping's not sloppy, Corey. But the bookkeeping was erratic because, as I said to you earlier, Val, we couldn't make payments just on the 1st and the 15th like most companies. There was always some financial fire to put out, or Corey needed an advance. And like I said in this statement here, the man just got $10,000 a month or a month and a half ago, and now he's saying, I need an advance. So these advancements through bookkeeping offer. There was another time where Amy, his assistant, was supposed to be paid, and I don't have the exact figures, but let's say she was supposed to be paid $1,800. That $1,800 should have been sent to Amy, but Corey had talked to her saying he needed money. Amy said, just send it to Corey. I said, hey, Amy, for bookkeeping purposes, I need to send it to you, and then you need to send it to Corey. And she said, but he needs money right now. He needs money right now. Just send it to Corey. So I said, okay, Maureen, just go ahead and send it to Corey. It's Amy's money. But those things, Val, do cause bookkeeping nightmares. And I'm just giving you a few examples of things that occurred all of the time because of mismanagement of money. And I do want to say one other thing. We talked about being a life coach and so on and so forth. I wanted the best for him. I talked to him about, there's so much money here going through your hands. I sure would like to see you own a home. I sure would like to see you have some assets with all this money that's going through here. Good times don't always last, but assets do. So these were the type of, I won't call it estate planning, but at least future planning that I tried to talk to them about. Now, at least David Wilcock bought a home in Colorado. But to my knowledge, Corey had not. I wanted him to own a home.
A sum of money. I say, well, Corey, what about the fundraisers? Well, Leon, you know, it wasn't 150,000. It was closer to 90,000 that he raised me. I said, excuse me? To myself, it's like you were destitute, and now you're poo-pooing. Oh, it was closer to 90,000. What kind of sociopath are we dealing with here?
Yeah.
You talk about ungratefulness. He remembers no kindness that anyone has ever done for him. That's the mentality of a sociopath.
Yeah.
So I in turn stated to Corey, I said, look, Corey, you don't even have a sum of money to offer. And I'm not going to wait in good faith for backside money to come in for David. So long story short, after getting nowhere and negotiating with Corey and finding him to be unreasonable and stubborn and not willing to compromise, I went over Corey's head. I went straight to the distributor, had a meeting with them, and I got David the 15%. David was saying, can you at least get me 7%? I got David 15% that, as far as I was concerned, he should have received. So much for Corey treating his best pal. He calls David his best friend.
Right.
His
At
best
least
pal.
publicly, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, and I think this was one of the instances that Corey pointed out where he just felt people were going over his head and he wasn't, you know, he wasn't being listened to or being dealt with fairly, right? I mean, isn't that an instance where you would see he could have an issue with that?
No, Val, in this instance, and we talked about this earlier, this was talking about the negotiation, and it was on the, remember it was on the telephone call that you had me listen to? This was the conversation about David getting a percentage or not getting a percentage. And earlier you had played me that telephone conversation with Corey and Rogers explaining why they were frustrated with David, why they felt he didn't deserve the percentage. That's what this was talking about.
Right, but so he originally had a 5% and then you talked to Jim Martin to get him the 15%, correct?
That is correct.
Later, I'm sued. 3 months
You know,
later.
you're the Dark Alliance now.
Yeah, 3 months later, I'm this despicable person that is part of a smear campaign. How could things change so drastically within 3 months? So here's what happened. I stood up to Corey. I was not a yes man. I went ahead in February and distributed the funds that he tried to commandeer. Now watch this. I was not involved with or looking for participation in the DOD conference that is now disputed. I was not involved in Roger and Corey's other previous businesses like the graphic novel and various other things. So the only part I would have been involved in was the 20 and Back TV series and the 20 and Back movie, which I had set up major meetings for, which we can get into at another time. So I was not part of the business divorce. And I wasn't, if things had gone just different ways, wouldn't have been asking for anything except my percentages of 20 and back and the TV series. So what changed?
Yeah.
For reasons already chronicled, I wouldn't go along with Corey seizing the team's money in his letter dated February 6th. By early March, Roger Richards had been pushed to the limit and wrote Corey a very explicit letter. Corey felt threatened, and as you viewed in his lawsuit, Corey, the so-called champion of disclosure and truth, wants Roger's letter forever sealed. The champion of disclosure and truth, yet he wants the letter forever sealed.
So we've talked for a long time today, Mr. Kennedy, and gone through the timeline in painstaking detail. But can you see where, from Mr. Goode's perspective, a lot of these business ventures are tied in together?
I do understand about the, especially with Roger's statement in that phone call about SBA Media having funded Above Majestic. I do understand that. Maybe that's what ties in the graphic novel. As I said to you earlier, Val, that was before my involvement, nor did I know anything about it. But I do understand where some of these things do overlap. Yes, to answer your question.
Okay, I think we're done with this one. Just have a few spots from the next one, and I think we're done.
Before we finish, Val, could I ask you a couple questions? We have enough time for that?
We're not really supposed to do that.
Oh.
I know we've had a lot of back and forth. It's because we're comfortable with each other, but
There were just a couple other things that I was trying to clear up here as far as damages that Corey said I caused him, or versus damages where I've been damaged to. Or for example, with Jim Hart, where Jim Hart was, I set up that meeting, Val, and brought Jim Hart in. Corey then turned around and went back to Jim Hart and said, I have fired Leon because he's embezzled and he's already defaulted in the lawsuit. Now, you as the opposing attorney, you know that I hadn't defaulted 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, and I haven't defaulted now. But my point is, I've already pointed out in Hollywood circles that A-list circle is so very small. And if Jim had been the type of person to just spread rumors, that could have been very career ending. In other words, Leon embezzled from a company, he's fired, da-da-da-da-da. Things like that are very, very damaging. Things like that could have been a major lawsuit just for me, just for that. So I'm just saying, he's not the only one that's been damaged here. That's all that I'm trying to say. And as far as the embezzlement, I go on the record again. I haven't embezzled anything. I think I've made so clear to you my spiritual integrity. No way in heaven would I wouldn't do it for $10 million, much less what, 10,000 or 50,000? No, I embezzled nothing. That's all I wanted to clear up.
understood. Understood.
And I thank you for giving me certain leeway that normally a client doesn't get. Appreciate it.
Well, I think there's a lot. I think that I think there's a lot out there that's gone on, you know, between and amongst all the parties. I know that, you know, Mr. Goode has been damaged, right? I mean, it seems like you're doing fine, right? I mean, you're still making documentaries and got some really good projects going on. Is that correct?
Well,
Objection assumes facts compound.
but I'll try and answer the question. in this way. Corey has over $200,000 that the team should have some of, and he's been holding on to that money for close to 2 years now. I don't think that that's fair. And then if Corey's IP is so great, then I think he would have other deals. So I'll answer it that way. Or even in the deposition, he said he's got major Hollywood people that want to do a big deal with him now. So it sounds like he's doing okay too and wasn't that damaged. But I want to end this on a positive note. And the positive note that I want to say is that I had said this earlier. I'm really tired of the wasted money. I'm tired of the wasted time. And I was getting ready to do some other drastic measures as far as coming out with some other statements and so on and so forth. I have a lot more information that I could put out, but I really don't want to. I rather, as gentlemen, work something out. I go back to what I said before. I think that Corey has great potential and can do a lot of great things in this world with his gifts, with his IP, and the other things that he has to offer. And the spiritual side of me wants to see the good Corey win. I'll leave it that way.
Understood. Understood. I think, I think there's still an avenue to get there. I just have a few more things to play from the last video, and then I think we can call it a night. It looks like you might.
Well, that was my conclusion. That was my conclusion statement. I didn't know we still had other things to go. I'm sorry.
There's just it'll be like, maybe, I think we might be out underneath the amount of time.
All right, it's going up right now.
Okay.
You'll need to request access again.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay. Oops.
No Hollywood deals because the word is out in Hollywood that you sue everybody. Who wants to work with you? Nobody would take a chance on working with you. By the way, Matthew, if I had vetted Corey, I wouldn't have worked with him.
So just right there, that goes right to what we were talking about. I mean, it hasn't been butterflies and rainbows, right? I mean, he's encountered people that don't want to work with him because of the stuff that's happened. Isn't that correct?
Petition, foundation, speculation.
Okay, I'm going to answer anyway. Val, I think it's a point now where the chickens have come home to roost, where Corey has fallen out with so many people, so many combative issues, that's why people don't want to work with him. They're afraid to work with him because he's ended up falling out with everybody that he's ever come into contact with, if you look at his track record. And I think that there's some spiritual growth that has to take place and some inner perspectives that have to take place, and that the new Corey can come out and maybe be better accepted. But right now, people are afraid to work with him. And I can tell you how Hollywood is. When executives see, oh, lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit, no, hell no, it's not worth it. I don't even want to take a meeting with them. That's how Hollywood is.
But isn't it true that he only has 2 lawsuits in his whole history? It's just these 2 lawsuits.
No, I don't think so. I think that there was the lawsuit before with the trademark with Gaia. I think that there's the lawsuit now going on with Gaia. I think that there's the lawsuit with the young lady whose name I think her name is Alicia or something like that. That's a lawsuit going on that David Wilcock is also involved with. There's the lawsuit with us. And then, as I pointed out to you before, there's the 26 community members that he has threatened to all the cease and desist. All these people talk about. So whether it's Linda Moulton Howe or Richard Dolan or dark journalists or Jimmy Church or Tony Rodriguez, James Ring, and on and on and on. Liz Laurie, his own attorney. So, you know, he has dug a deep hole here. And I think there's got to be a change for people to trust again. So no, I don't think that it's a small, minute thing.
Okay, so you said there's been 2 lawsuits with Gaia?
I thought before there was a trademark lawsuit, and now there's this ongoing lawsuit.
I think maybe that was some misinformation that someone put out there.
Okay, well, actually, you would know better than me. You know, I stand corrected because when we were on, this is back when I worked with Corey, you and I were on a conference call together, and I thought that that was about a lawsuit or a pending lawsuit about the trademarks. And when I hired Dan Meacham to help Corey with Gaia, that was about either a pending lawsuit or whatever. So I don't know. That was 2 years ago. It has nothing to do with this new RICO lawsuit. So in my mind, there were 2 different instances.
Okay, but that was, I mean, that was right around the time the Gaia lawsuit was filed, right? Like maybe a month or 2 beforehand? With
No, I think it was at least a year apart.
Okay.
But that's not the main point. The main point is that when you get a reputation, it makes people very leery. It makes people very gun shy to do business with a person. And as far as all these other individuals are concerned, Val, is Corey always the victim? Is he the one that's right and everybody else is wrong? There's too many other people to all be wrong. So that's a situation that he's going to have to work with. And as I said, I always look for the spirit of redemption. I'm hoping that the better Corey will emerge and can go on and do some great things. That's my hope.
Okay, well, and I'll represent to you that Mr. Goode has only filed 2 lawsuits in his life. So for him to get a reputation like that, don't you think that that's a little unfair?
Objection, improper. You can answer.
Well, I cannot when I have a whole list here of over 20 individuals in the metaphysical community who Corey has sent a cease and desist. He's tried to suppress them in one way or another, silence them in one way or another, or shame them in one way or another. It's a big, long list, Val. And somewhere along the line, I think that one has to take responsibility for their actions, hopefully change, and then maybe people will change their reaction. But right now, the reaction is not good. There's been a lot of damage done.
But don't you think it's important to protect what you worked hard to produce?
Objection, argumentative, foundation, incomplete, hypothetical, vague.
We talked about protecting the trademarks. And yes, that probably was a pertinent thing to do. But as far as smearing people and all the other things that have taken place, no. That's not the right MO. And there's too many people that have been damaged, and they talk to each other. It's you know, it's not a big community, this metaphysical community. These people know each other and they know of each other. Hollywood, if you're going to do big business in Hollywood, I already said to you about, it's a very close circle, about 200 A-list people. They talk. When Corey sued me, he hurt himself in Hollywood because I have a great reputation in Hollywood. So for people to hear that Corey Goode sued Leon Isaac Kennedy, it did a lot of damage, believe me, as far as his credibility. When he lied to Jim Hart, he hurt himself, not me.
Understood.
I believe we're out of time.
I had a couple more things to play.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Videographer, but we're 7 hours, right?
I don't mind going extra.
Yeah,
She
we
was
are
nice enough.
7 hours. Sorry, I was muted.
Oh, okay.
I was saying I don't mind going extra because Val was nice enough to let me ask some questions, so I don't have that objection.
Okay.
Lyndon's looking at me strange, but if it's okay.
I want to go home with my kids.
Okay.
Uh,
How much more time do you need, Val?
3 minutes. That's it. I know I've got a baby at home too waiting for me. Okay. Whose name you guys would be familiar with. Okay.
And to so many of you in this community. My attorneys had advised me since March to say nothing and let them settle this through court. However, much of this information would never have come out in the court process. And as stated in my opening, this community, I want you to be the courtroom, and I want all of you to be the judge. As this expose of truth comes out, Corey and maybe his attorney will go into their crisis management. Corey will do his usual overdrive with more smear and lies to try and divert focus from actual truth. But I say this to you, Corey. You can only tell so many lies before the public finally sees through them, because it becomes the same old lie. You can only try putting out so many spins before you spin out of control. And so, Corey, there comes a time where everybody has a moment of reckoning. You've only got a few choices. You can take a long sabbatical. You can truly humble yourself. You can ask God for help. And if you're sincere, there are light workers in this community that have long arms and that will reach out and help you to change, to recalibrate, as I would call it, and truly be of the light versus the despicable darkness that you display now. However, if you continue to choose to be led by this dark energy, if you continue to be arrogant and oppose your will on others, well, let me just put it this way. There's such a thing as called accelerated karma. There's such a thing called divine judgment. I've already seen it coming, and it's not going to be pretty for you. You've lied on too many people. You've viciously tried to execute too many individuals and their careers and their finances. And most importantly, too many times you have lied on spirit. And so now you're being held accountable. The choice is up to you. The choice is yours. Except for saying that I am now open to do a lot of interviews, because I am totally committed to eradicating Corey out of this community. For now, I'm done.
Just one last question. How do you think Mr. Good felt when he,
I'm sorry. Can you speak up, please?
yes, how do you think that was received when thousands of people saw that?
I think it was received as truth, Val. I do not make off-the-hand statements. My statements come from prayer. I was very prayerful before making my statements. I was not going off on some rage tirade. I was very, very prayerful with everything that I said. And I think that there was a lot of truth in there, that we all have a day of reckoning. We all have a day that we have to humble ourselves before God and say, what am I doing wrong? Where do I need to change? Where do I need to adjust so that I can grow? Everybody has to go through that type of metamorphosis. And that's what I was saying to Corey. Either you can change, because obviously this is not working, it's not right, and you can take some type of responsibility for your actions instead of always, I'm the victim and I'm right and being arrogant. You can have an inner perspective, and you can reach out to some light workers for some help. That's how we grow. So no, I meant every word of that, and every word of that was very sincere. And as far as I'm concerned, it was very spiritual, Val.
Okay, well,
And with that, it's asked for 3 minutes. It's been 6. Let's go ahead and close.
thank you so much for your time today, Mr. Kennedy.
It was my pleasure, Val, and I thank you.
Absolutely. Ms. Steller, I forgot to mark those 2 last videos as exhibits. I believe the last one's plaintiff's exhibits 32. Does that sound right? And then the one before that, plaintiff's exhibit 31. Oh, sorry.
Am I good to conclude for us?
I'm sorry.
Am I good to conclude for us?
Oh, I think so. Do we need the exhibits on the record, or can we do that afterwards? Is it okay?
Yeah, I can do it off the video record. We can discuss.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, I'll conclude for us then.
Okay. Sorry, one more thing.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure I designated it as confidential at the beginning, but I just in case I didn't, designating this as confidential.
Yeah, we're off the record.
All right, the time is 5:44. This concludes the remote deposition. We are now off the record.